this week's CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, and later in the show, we'll be talking more details on MGM International's proposal for a resort and casino in Bridgeport. Doug Smith will also join us later for some drawing conclusions. But first, happy to welcome in studio State Senator Gail Slossberg. Now, she's a Democrat who caused maybe some shockwaves last Friday by voting with a GOP budget plan. Senator Slossberg, so happy to have you in studio.
Thanks for having me here, Kate.
So, want to ask you, this was a big deal last Friday. You and two other moderate Democrats went with the GOP plan. What was your thought process behind that?
This was a very difficult process. It's been a long summer, it's been a long year, but I've been very consistent in what I've been saying from day one. Connecticut has been, and we've had, multi-billion-dollar deficits for so many years now. And it seems year after year after year we've got these multi-billion-dollar deficits. And in the past number of years, what we've done is we've cut social services, we've cut really important programs for people in our communities and in our state, and we've raised taxes. And in some years we've had concessions from our labor unions, and in other years not. Right. But it's been this same process all along, year after year after year, and it hasn't worked. And so this year, when it came around, again, here we are, another $5 billion in deficit. I asked the question, we can't do the same thing anymore. It hasn't been working. We need to turn the curve. We need to change the trajectory of the future. And so all session long, I had worked on trying to figure out, well, if we cut more and we raise more money, and we get a labor concession package, are we out of the hole?
Right.
Do we ever get out of the hole in this state?
Yeah.
And after a lot of work, we brought in some financial consultants from New York City, and they looked at all our books and unfortunately gave us the news that I think we all really knew. Mm-hmm. Connecticut's in trouble financially. And if we don't make some changes, we're not going to just see budget deficits this year. We're going to see them next year, and the year after that, and the year after that for the next 30 years. 30 years of what you've witnessed this summer. It's not pretty. And so what, me and a number of my colleagues got together and started talking about how can we change the system so that we start to dig ourselves out of this fiscal crisis. Mm-hmm. And we came up with a plan for 12 structural reforms that would change the way Connecticut does business and start us on the path. It wasn't going to fix everything. This was a problem 80 years in the making. We're not going to fix it in 1 year, but we had to recognize the problem and we need to start to address it. And we kept advocating for that all along, and it came the day of the vote, and our reforms were not in the Democratic package, and they showed up in the Republican package.
Oh. So that really pushed, at least you with Senators Hartley and Doyle, to vote for the GOP package.
That was a pretty significant issue for us. In addition to the fact that the Democratic budget, as it was proposed, again, raised significant taxes on everybody. And I haven't met anybody in my district or in this state who says to me, oh, Connecticut's a really cheap place to live. It's not. Cost of living's really high here, and we can't keep raising the cost of living. We want people to live here. We want to be able to invest in our institutions, in our schools, in our kids, to provide for our seniors, the most needy in our communities. And we can't do that if we continue to do the same thing year after year.
We should say after it passed in the Senate with your support, it went on to the House, and 6 Democrats as well supported it, allowing it to pass in the House. But now Governor Dannel Malloy has said that he will veto that budget. So what happens next if he should do that?
Yeah, my expectation is, at this point, given what he's said, is that he will veto it. So this gives us an opportunity. It's an opportunity to look and take stock and say, okay, we've got a really big problem. We're sort of like the Titanic, and we are heading towards that iceberg. And the bottom line is we need all hands on deck. We can't have Democrats sitting on one side and Republicans sitting on the other side. The people of Connecticut want people to come together and be citizens of Connecticut and figure out a path forward, somewhere in the middle. We need to govern from the middle, from what makes sense, and try to get us out of this, get us moving in the right direction. So I'm hopeful for bipartisan negotiations and a bipartisan budget that we all can vote for.
And now some reaction to the GOP budget plan, even if it does get vetoed. I know UConn President Susan Herbst says it would require some cataclysmic cuts on their end. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if there was one area of the Republican budget that gives me pause, it is the cuts to UConn and to higher ed. You know, there were cuts in the Democratic budget to UConn and to higher ed. They're much more significant in the Republican budget. I think it's time for everybody to take a deep breath, get in the room, show some documents, get us some metrics, let's talk about the numbers and figure out what do we really need to do. I mean, the reality is we're making hard choices. We have kids who are aging out of our DDS programs, our programs for developmental disabilities, you know, and they have no place to go. I get a phone call every single day from a parent in that community that says to me, what am I supposed to do? I'm working 3 jobs, 3 jobs as it is, but if I don't get any services for my child, I can't work at all, and I don't have the skill set to even take care of him or her. We have to help those people, and we can't do it unless we start making some of these bigger changes that we've talked about.
And the GOP plan does protect some of those programs, right, for people with developmental disabilities.
Yeah, they actually restore more funding to those programs than the Democratic budget did.
And what about ECS cuts? Because that's been a big concern, obviously, for all the towns and cities.
Sure.
What would happen there in this plan that's currently approved?
Yeah, well, you know, the governor's proposed ECS was to defund Milford. Right. So Milford is, you know, obviously one of my communities, and he would have completely zeroed out education funding. That's almost $11 million a year in 1 year. That would have, talk about devastation, that would have devastated the Milford school system. The Democratic budget was restored some of those dollars, but also made significant cuts as the years went on. The Republican budget restored all of those dollars and held these communities harmless, at least for the time being, and eventually phased some of those dollars out as the years went on. I think the answer there is somewhere in the middle. I don't think we can defund education from any town. I don't think that's the right thing to do. You know, education, investing in our kids, that's our future. That's where we're going to go in this state. And if we take those dollars away and we don't make proper investments, we're all going to be the worse for it.
And now, you mentioned you represent Milford, Orange, Woodbridge, West Haven. Have people in your district constituents contacted you since you took this vote, and what has the reaction been?
Yes, they have. My phone has been ringing, my emails are going, my texts are coming. I've had a few people stop at my house. Yeah, there's been a huge response, and interestingly enough, it's been overwhelmingly positive. You know, even from long-term, lifelong Democrats, I've gotten emails and calls that say, you know what, it's time for us to come together, and you know, thank you for trying to make this happen and for standing up for the courage of your convictions. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, and I know that people, you know, there are people in my party who are obviously not happy, but at the end of the day, people in my communities elected me to make the best decisions I can. And to put their interests above my party. So it's tough, you know, that's what you got to do sometimes.
Right. And you know, in the last election cycle, it seemed like voters wanted more of an even split. I mean, the Senate is now 18-18, Democrats and Republicans. So I would think that that's saying the voters really want more input from both sides. Now, does this change things for Republicans? Because they were able to kind of sit off and just say no and not have their plan heard initially, but now, you know, they have some real power as far as being at the table with Democrats.
Yeah, I can't speak for the Republicans. Yeah. In all honesty, I'm pretty sure they were shocked too. So, you know, I can't speak for them, but like I said, my best hope is it's time for us to come together. We need a bipartisan budget that, you know, that moves Connecticut out of permanent fiscal crisis. We can't keep going like this. We just can't do it, and it's time to move us forward.
All right. Well, State Senator Gail Schlossberg, so great to talk with you and have you in studio. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, we're going to step out for a break. We'll be back with more CT Pulse after this.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
At the office of Dr. David Oshiro of Darien, we provide high-quality and personalized orthodontic treatment in a professional and caring environment. We make treatment fun for our young patients and believe it's never too late to have a healthy and beautiful smile. Call now for an appointment and find out more at droshiro.com.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN Network.
HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and some big news broke this week that MGM International and the RCI Group have a formal agreement to build MGM Bridgeport, which would be a resort and casino at near Steel Point Harbor, not far from the site of Bass Pro Shop in Bridgeport. And we have on the line right now Yuri Clinton, who's a senior vice president and legal counsel with MGM Resorts. Yuri, so happy to have you on the phone today.
Absolutely good to be with you today.
Now, before we talk about some of the roadblocks, and there are some, can you kind of give us an overview of the project?
Yeah, what we envision is a entertainment destination resort, one that feeds off of the New York market. New York City has 8.5 million residents, and then also the proximity to Long Island would allow Bridgeport to do something that Connecticut hasn't been able to really do. Use its gaming policy as an engine for true economic development in its tourism sector.
Now, Yuri, there are some roadblocks here, and I've seen that MGM has released some promotional videos. There's also a petition online. Now, part of that is that the state has an agreement with the Mashantucket Pequots and the Mohegan tribal nations in regards to casinos. And in fact, the state gets a 25% of gaming at Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods. So what needs to happen for this project to be able to go forward?
Yeah, I'd like to address that because I think that it's an easy project to greenlight. The state simply needs to expand its gaming legislation to allow for Bridgeport to operate a gaming floor. So that part is easy. The roadblocks that you speak of are the antiquated 20-year-old gaming compacts that the state signed with the two tribes that give them the exclusive right to gaming. The problem is that if you look at the high point of the revenue, and they only get 25% of slot machine revenue, not 25% of table games, which is a significant source of income for those tribal casinos. So in 2007, at the height of those compact payments, the state received $430 million from the tribes. That's a lot of money. The problem has been that the compacts are so old that they don't account for the change in the competitive landscape nor the new forms of gaming. And so every year since 2007, the payments have taken a significant drop. And now they've had probably about a 37% decrease. 2017, they're $270 million, and it's anticipated that in 2019, it'll only be $175 million. So as the payments decrease, the state of Connecticut is left with a very serious question. How do we reverse this trend, and how do we take advantage of our proximity to the New York market?
Now, Yuri, as I understand, as a separate issue to this, MGM also has a casino in Springfield, Mass. that it's building, and the Mashantucket Pequots and the Mohegan tribes have received approval from the state for a casino in East Windsor, Connecticut. However, as I understand, the federal government, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, has not given approval for that specific casino.
Well, yeah, you're right. There was conditional approval from the state, which says only if the Department of Interior agrees can you move forward. Well, the Department of Interior did not agree. So right now, the status quo of gaming in the state is simply the tribal gaming venues. And so what we're saying is, okay, so we know that you've got the two tribal gaming casinos, but both of those are well over 130 miles away from New York City. So why don't we expand gaming to have an opportunity closer, and that's where we proposed Bridgeport.
Now, Yuri, just some initial reaction. State Senator Tony Wong, he's a Republican, he released a statement this week kind of against this MGM Bridgeport proposal. He said, in part, casinos spread gambling addiction, debt, bankruptcies, and crime. We cannot ignore the societal costs that gambling has brought to Connecticut. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I actually, really like the senator. He's passionate about his issues. He's wrong on the facts, though. And so we've not proposed a slot machine house. This is so different than what was proposed in East Windsor, where his point probably would have taken root because it was simply just a gaming floor. What we propose is a entertainment resort destination, one that has over 30,000 square foot of retail space, 300 hotel rooms, a scenic boardwalk, live entertainment venues, multiple restaurants and bars and lounges, and places where people can go and enjoy their day, celebrate special occasions, and spend money, give them reasons to spend money to add to the overall economy. So there is a gaming floor, but what MGM builds are entertainment destination resorts. And we do that with a very serious attention being paid to problem gaming. And so we do everything we can to encourage people who may find themselves with problem gaming, one, not to come to any of our establishments, but two, to get the help that they need. And so we've got a great track record when it comes to that. And I think that the senator's concerns are more applicable to East Windsor, which was just simply a gaming floor.
Now, Yuri, talking about the entertainment piece, just recently some big news in this area was that the ballpark at Harbor Yard is going to potentially become a concert venue. Do you see that as being a problem? Any competition with what MGM wants to do?
No, we're excited about it. We're excited about the Webster Bank Arena and the amphitheater, because one of the things that MGM does is we bring world-class entertainers, A-list celebrities to all of our sites. And when we're thinking about the tourism infrastructure, what does Bridgeport need? Well, we've planned all of that. But what they don't need is another 20,000-seat amphitheater. They've got amphitheaters and they've got arenas. So we look forward to using that infrastructure when we have people like, I'll say Bruno Mars, Cher, who have been at many of our properties, Lionel Richie. That type of level of entertainer would be the type of level of entertainer that we would want to attract, and that would fill up the amphitheater and at the same time give people a reason to come to Bridgeport and spend time at our entertainment venue as well.
Now, Yuri, just quickly, we've seen some glitzy casinos open up in Atlantic City, for example, and close down a few years later. What would make this location different, more profitable?
I'm so glad you brought that up. The reality is that Atlantic City, didn't take advantage of new technologies and changes. Atlantic City has some very successful casinos. The Borgata, the MGM casino, that is very successful because the Borgata was able to take advantage of the changing demographics and understand how to change its business plan. Those casinos that didn't failed. So here we have a 20-year compact with two casinos that have not changed their business plan. And the downward trajectory from those payments is an indication that you already have the Atlantic City problem here. So the question is, how do you reverse it? And we will look at the Las Vegas model, which, nobody wants to have 1,000 casinos in Connecticut, but there's something very interesting about what happened in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Gaming Commission modified its gaming laws to allow for intranet gaming, skill-based gaming, sports betting, and they did an entire different regulatory structure because they saw the face of gaming was changing. And I would say that gaming today with fantasy sports betting and everything else is so much different than it was 20 years ago. So if Connecticut wants to avoid the Atlantic City problem, they really do need to get behind new exciting projects like MGM Bridgeport.
Now, Yuri, just quickly, we're going to have to let you go, but you are asking folks to, if they support this idea, sign a petition that would go to state legislators, yes?
Yeah, we're asking people to directly contact their state legislators. We're asking them to send emails. We're asking them phone calls, because here's what happens. This law, in the middle of this budget cycle, MGM Bridgeport is offering $50 million cash as a license fee. And so if you're going to do policy that is good for the state, we think this is really the time. So we are asking people to get their state representatives engaged, because this is really about 7,000 jobs. This is about high quality, high paying jobs with benefits. This is about skill-based jobs. If you're going to have 2,000 slot machines running 24 hours a day, you need technicians and computer programmers that can do that. And MGM's willing to train those people, and we're willing to make sure that we have a minimum at all times in direct hires of 2,000. And then the construction jobs, we're talking about real jobs for Connecticut citizens.
All right, well, Yuri Clinton of MGM Resorts, thank you so much for joining us today, kind of talking more about the plans for MGM Bridgeport. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you more.
All right, thank you. All right, we are going to step out for a break. We'll be back with more CT Pulse after this.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during the summer clearance event, you'll find some of our best prices too. Like this lease on a 2017 Ram Quad Cab Express for $149 a month. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Richfield, PambyZone.com.
CT City Lacrosse is dedicated to the growth of lacrosse for youth and high school players. Directed by Stanford High head coach Mike Nazaro, we help players reach full potential on and off the field. With an indoor facility in Stanford, we offer year-round training, camps, clinics, and private instruction. Visit ctcitylax.com for more.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
New Canaan Foreign Car. Yes, New Canaan Foreign Car has been servicing all makes of foreign cars for over 50 years. We also buy, sell, and consign cars too. We can help you with all your automotive needs from service to sales. Call us at 203-966-2681.
Welcome back to CT Pulse. It is time for Drawing Conclusions with our editorial cartoonist, Doug Smith. Doug, explain this one to us.
Oh, it's just, it's the soda machine downstairs.
That's what
always
happens.
Giving me grief.
That's what happens when you choose the Drawing Conclusions
Not quite,
option.
but I did put $1 in, and I pushed the Diet Pepsi, and it said out. So
Probably
Instead-
John Kovach's fault, by
Could
the
be.
way.
Instead
Happy
of giving
birthday
me
to
my
him,
money. Oh, that's
as
right.
an aside. All right, well, let's take a look at what you have for us this week. The first one's a big story in Darien. Tell us a little bit about this
Oh, they
one.
finally get the lights after years and years of debates and arguing. And
I like his thought bubble. Turn it off. I was one of those against you, although I don't know why.
so the editor was saying, like, people don't know why they were really complaining in the first place.
Yeah.
But who knows?
All right. Well, we're actually going to be at Darien this Saturday. Well, the lights won't be on, but all right. Let's
Hope they're not walking around like that.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. Let's take a look at the next one. Little hurricane humor here.
Yeah, if there's any humor to be found in a
Yeah.
hurricane. But
But that bird's staying put. He does
Yeah.
not want to migrate south this
so I was
year.
just actually echoing my brother who's been planning to move to Florida for years and is now rethinking it. So
Yeah, I bet a lot of people are. All right, let's take a look at the next one about some ordnance humor. We always love that.
Yep.
You're the only one that could make humor out of ordinances.
Yep.
You're leaving town too. Did you get an ordinance like me?
Nah, they just want to kill him.
Now, what town was this
That's
for?
in Ridgefield. You know, they're doing the deer culling up there.
Yes, and
So-
the horse ordinance, you can't have a certain number on a property.
Right.
Right. Okay. And up next, Monroe hazardous waste collection.
Yep. I always use Godzilla now and then. He's always good for something. But
Always good to pop in. And hazardous waste collection, the perfect reason. We have another monster in this next
more
one.
dinosaur stuff.
Tell us about this one.
Yep, for reasons unknown, a Velociraptor shows up at Devon Rotary's Oktoberfest, so they're having a brat eating contest.
So the Velociraptor brought his own brat.
Exactly, or
All
grabbing
right.
a brat out of the crowd, I guess. So.
Always a great way to promote some local events,
Right.
Doug. All right. Well, as always, Doug, thanks so much for joining
Hey,
us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here on CT Pulse. Again, we wish John Kovach, our editorial director, a happy birthday. Coming
Happy
up
birthday,
at 2
John.
o'clock, Nutmeg Sports. And if you missed anything, you can watch this